I'm Jorge.
And I'm Katarina.
And our capstone project is titled A Roadmap for Equitable Open Space Planning.
And our other team members are Joe Garcia, Max Scherzer, Yaojia Ding, and Yuchen Wu. Our capstone advisor is Professor Thomas Quaranta.
Let's get right to it. Our clients are Town on Gown, a citywide university community partnership program, and the New York City Housing Authority, also known as NYCHA, the largest public housing authority in the country. In 2018, after decades of federal underfunding, the authority launched NYCHA 2.0, an effort to overhaul their finances and physical infrastructure. And as part of that, NYCHA partnered with the New York City Department of City Planning to launch Connected Communities, a comprehensive urban design initiative to better connect the residents of NYCHA sites through improved open spaces.
So NYCHA has the plans, but now they need the funding. And in order to get it, they have to tell a good story. That's where we come in. Our project is to conduct a life cycle cost-benefit analysis of NYCHA's open space master plan designs in order to support their efforts to get funding. And our work is focused on 3 specific sites: Morris 1 and 2 in the Bronx, Nostrand and Van Dyke houses in Brooklyn.
Basically, we're conducting a cost-benefit analysis of open spaces. And this is not usually the kind of infrastructure you'd think produces tangible financial benefits. This is why we're looking specifically at the social benefits of these open spaces and the potential they have to improve the life of NYCHA residents by improving their health, environment, safety, and their ability to connect with each other.
And then, with certain assumptions, we applied a dollar value to that. Our project attempts to answer the question, what is the value of community? And how can the built environment help to improve that value? To accomplish this, we divided our tasks into 3 distinct phases.
First, research. We have conducted an extensive literature review of the social and economic benefits of parks and open spaces. We've also conducted several interviews with experts from city government and the nonprofit sector, as well as from finance and urban planning.
Second, accounting for co-benefits. We've accounted for the possible health, safety, and environmental benefits of the designs by applying the research combined with city data to each individual design intervention. For example, how specifically does a playground affect the physical and mental health of children? And how does that translate to tangible benefits such as fewer visits to the ER? Using the life cycle cost-benefit analysis model, we've monetized the value of the benefits. We selected the standard accepted time horizon of 60 years, meaning that we will account for benefits gained during that time frame. Similarly, we selected a discount rate of 3% per year, and that's conventional for this type of analysis. Once we put these figures into the model, we reach a net present value of benefits gained of $66 million for Morris, $1.4 million for Nostrand, and $54 million for Van Dyke. So we have found that the benefits greatly outweigh the costs.
And lastly, our final report. We presented 4 financial strategies and analyzed them for suitability, feasibility, and acceptability to support the open space master plans. We provided recommendations for NYCHA to explore PAC's integration, revenue generation, impact bonds, and using newly created public trusts as feasible policy mechanisms that will raise the necessary capital. Our conclusions: leveraging the public trust is the best option. By doing this, NYCHA can apply for and accept grants, awards, and donations from public and private entities. Additionally, they can use the trust to execute ground leases of the development sites, sales for air rights, major private donations, concessions, and taxes.
We are confident in the work we've been able to do and believe that we've produced a comprehensive report, a modifiable LCCBA Excel model, and a presentation slide deck that will communicate these findings in a way that is useful for a broader audience. More than a roadmap, we believe our final product effectively asserts that equitable open spaces improve the quality of life of residents, are a social and economic boon to the community, and are valuable investments for decades to come.
Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say congratulations and thank you on behalf of the New York City Housing Authority. We really appreciate all of the work that you all have put in over the past few weeks and months into figuring out, some research on something that's not really been widely researched as of yet. And you guys really threw yourselves in there, figured it out with us, and your energy was palpable. We appreciate all of the work, and we really hope it will help further and improve the open spaces and public housing developments for all of those New Yorkers who live in NYCHA. So thank you.
Hello, congratulations to the class of 2021 and the Capstone team that we worked with for doing a phenomenal study that will have a lasting impact on how the open spaces for the NYCHA communities are planned and funded. And we cannot thank you enough for pulling this off in this time frame, and especially through such a challenging remote school year. And good luck for your next endeavor.
A roadmap for equitable open space planning, the public impact of public space. As your faculty advisor for this great project, I'm proud of what you achieved in this capstone workshop. Your hard work produced outstanding results. Congratulations, team, for a job well done.
Hello, everyone. My name is Colin Ward, and welcome to the Capstone presentation on green bonds, blockchain and fintech, proof of impact. Now, we all know there's nothing investors cherish more than being in the green. But what if positive returns to investor portfolios could be coupled with positive returns to society? Our client, Barclays Public Finance Division, has posited the theory that institutional capital will not flow freely to the municipal bond market without an increase in transparency with regard to their environmental and social impact. Now for a quick introduction to the muni market, ESG, and green bonds. A muni bond is a debt security issued by a state, municipality, or country to finance government or public expenditures. And as of year-end 2020, the US muni bond market had a market cap of $3.95 trillion, comprising 44% of individual investors and 27% by mutual funds. Environmental social governance criteria are a set of standards conscious investors use to screen potential investments and minimize both non-financial and financial risks. Currently, equities dominate the ESG investing world. However, fixed income investors are starting to consider ESG-linked bonds for a variety of factors. One being the integration of ESG principles by credit rating agencies in their research. Large ratings agencies like Moody's and Standard & Poor's have proposed including ESG investments on bond issuers. According to MSCI, bonds with higher ESG ratings outperform those with low ESG ratings or issuers lacking ESG ratings. With successful track records and performance and increasing interest in responsible investing, we believe ESG investing in the fixed income space will continue to grow. Green bonds are a type of fixed income instrument designed specifically to raise money for climate and environmental projects in clean energy, transportation, water management, etc. Green bonds also come with tax incentives such as exemptions or credits, making them a more attractive investment compared to a traditional taxable bond. Looking forward, as more countries transition toward a low carbon or net zero economy, portfolio managers are proactively aligning their investment with environmental and socially beneficial projects. We believe that green bonds and other sustainable bonds will continue their rapid growth in the post-pandemic era. In the graph to the right, you can see the annual increases in sustainable bonds with an average issuance of around 20 million in 2013 to almost 500 million in 2020. Now to benefits of green bonds. To determine whether or not green bonds can be a more appealing investment than normal muni bonds, we decided to take a look into a premium associated with the issuance of green bonds. This so-called greenium has been researched and analyzed by academia and firms alike. Our findings did not point to clear, statistically significant evidence of a greenium. For this reason, we conducted our own case study. We analyzed the Boston General Obligation bonds issued in 2020 by the City of Boston. This issuance has been relevant to this comparative study because the City of Boston issued two series with similar characteristics in which Series B is a certified green bond compared to the traditional bond in Series A. If you refer to the table, you'll notice a clear spread between the yield achieved in the Series A bonds and B bonds. It is important to understand the inverse correlation between the yield and the price of the bond. The higher a bond's price, the lower its yield. Thus, accounting for the higher yields in the Series A bond compared to those in the green bond with the same maturity and interest rate, we can conclude that, according to the City of Boston 2020 issuance, a premium in the green bonds does exist. Our conclusion around the greenium is that it's hard to measure due to a lack of case studies, and it's dependent on a lot of external factors. And if you look in the example, it's about a 2 to 3 basis points premium, so we declare it not significant. Now to the costs. When looking at the costs associated with issuing green bonds, there are prior and post-issuance expenses. Prior to issuance costs include internal costs such as accounting, auditing, and reporting. Post-issuance costs include technology to track proceeds and ongoing reporting and auditing fees. After conducting our own research and speaking with industry experts, we've determined that the costs of certifying a bond as green are 20 to 30K to verify the issuance and about 1/10 of a basis point to certify the investment with the Climate Bond Initiative. So to summarize the costs and benefits, we found that a greenium is not statistically significant and any additional costs borne by issuing a green bond are immaterial. Now our solutions. Although these findings are lackluster, there are still ways in which the muni market can enhance transparency, increase liquidity, and decrease the cost of capital. The lack of transparency problem comes from investors not knowing where the proceeds are going. The technology is outdated compared to other asset markets as the transactions are mostly handled over the counter. And lastly, as we've already discussed, in the eyes of investors, most ESG labeled munis are considered similar to regular muni bonds. To address the lack of transparency and rudimentary technology issues in muni markets, we believe digitization and transactions on the blockchain can be leveraged to increase transparency and decrease costs. Falling under the umbrella of decentralized finance, asset digitization is the process in which the rights to an asset are converted into a digital token on the blockchain. The digital token representing the original asset undergoes a modern day-like securitization process. The implementation of digitization offers potential for more fair and more efficient financial practices, such as the creation, buying, and selling of securities. Digitization enhances liquidity by providing access to a broader array of investors. It allows for less cost because the transactions are completed automatically on the blockchain rather than needing administrators or brokers. And lastly, it enhances transparency by showing the details of prior trades in secondary markets. Another potential solution we looked at is increased marketing. To deal with the fact that normal munis and ESG-linked munis have very little differences pre and post issuance, we believe a non-technological approach may benefit the industry as well. With the rise of ESG investments increasingly taking over the asset management industry, effectively promoting these securities could result in higher demand and access new swaths of investors who are looking to greenify their portfolios. These additional investors would bring down costs and increase liquidity, and with no evidence of a greenium, the tax benefits of green bonds, along with their environmental and social agendas, may just need an effective campaign to promote these investments. Thank you very much.
My name is Hannah, and I will be presenting on behalf of my team on our Capstone project, Mapping Dynamics of Humanitarian Assistance in a Changing Environment. Rising rates of violence and economic uncertainty in Northern Central America have resulted in mass migration and displacement of people from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. The rise of displaced people traveling to Mexico and the United States, in combination with limited protection and legal support for migrants and increasingly restrictive migration policies, has resulted in a humanitarian crisis in the region. This complex and evolving reality has been further complicated by the COVID-19 pandemic and climate disasters in Central America. Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, operates throughout Mexico, providing medical consultations and mental health services to people on the move. To support MSF's work by developing a more comprehensive understanding of the service, situational, and policy landscapes surrounding migration from Central America to Mexico and the US, our team conducted mixed methods research consisting of a literature review, 35 semi-structured interviews with service providers and experts, a service provider survey with a sample size of 55, and secondary analysis of existing data sets. Our resulting report describes the role of shelters and direct service providers, including key challenges they experience in meeting migrants' needs, discusses the instances of violence and vulnerable populations throughout the migratory process, proposes recommendations for legal advocacy, program improvement, and future research, and proposes recommendations to better meet humanitarian needs and improve how MSF collects and uses data. This map is one of many visualizations we developed for the report to better understand the humanitarian response in the region. It shows how albergues or shelters are distributed throughout Mexico, as recorded by MSF or other sources. Our report identifies services provided by albergues as well as barriers to access that migrants may face. In addition to albergues, there are many other direct service providers who interact with migrants and collectively provide vital services. This table represents survey respondents' perceptions of strong areas of provision versus weak areas of provision. The weakest areas that service providers identified were job placement, mental health, and medical services. This map visualizes survey responses to the question, select 3 routes that are the most dangerous for migrants. The darker shades of blue on the route represent more respondents selecting this option. The service providers surveyed overwhelmingly indicated that the northeast route along the Gulf of Mexico is the most dangerous for migrants. The 35 interviews we conducted helped contextualize our understanding of violence. In the words of one service provider, the route through Mexico is the cemetery of Central America. While all migrants in Mexico are vulnerable to some extent and face challenges accessing services and protection, our interviewees and survey respondents highlighted that specific populations, including women, unaccompanied children, LGBTIQ migrants, Black migrants, and Indigenous migrants, are at greater risk due to the intersection of their identities. Additionally, participants in our study noted that the number of people migrating across all of these populations is increasing. Based on our findings, our report proposes a series of recommendations to better meet humanitarian needs and improve situational awareness. This project has the potential to inform service provision and advocacy through the publication of a mixed methods report that will be publicly available in Spanish and English. Our project can help strengthen referral networks and humanitarian collaboration, as our team has identified priority contacts for MSF outreach and recommended strategies to mobilize networks of service providers with a focus on better meeting the needs of vulnerable groups. Through analysis of survey responses and the development of interactive data visualization dashboards, our work contributes to an improved understanding of current service provider capacity, including provider needs and gaps in services. Lastly, our project aims to support the provision of adequate, timely, and appropriate services for migrants by proposing time-saving data collection strategies to facilitate MSF's routine data collection and enable rapid analysis.
As faculty advisor to this project, and on behalf of Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, I want to extend a sincere thank you to the CEPA Capstone team for their excellent work. The team went above and beyond and employed innovative methodologies to provide important recommendations on how to better meet the humanitarian needs of migrants and asylum seekers in Mexico and Central America. Their work can not only help bolster efforts to support vulnerable and unseen groups in the region, but can also help us reimagine how to engage in humanitarian action at this dynamic time. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Hi, my name is Drashi Bramba, and I'll be presenting on behalf of my group that was advised by Professor Christina Eberbach for the Center for Popular Democracy. Healthcare is a human right, examining barriers to Medicaid access. Let's get started. We had the historic opportunity to work with an on-the-ground advocacy organization that is well-renowned and headquartered in New York City. Fundamentally, the Center for Popular Democracy, or CPD, works to advance an innovative, pro-worker, pro-immigrant, racial, and economic justice agenda. With a network of 53 affiliate organizations across 35 states and 131 cities, CPD centers community leaders in the process of building a more equitable and collective world. At the heart of our research is the question, what are the barriers to accessing Medicaid? The situation of health insurance coverage is dire in America. 11% of Americans are uninsured and 20% receive health insurance coverage through Medicaid. That is 1 in 5 Americans. To make matters even more serious, the onslaught of COVID-19 pushed 7.6 million more Americans to apply for Medicaid. And Medicaid programs across the country were not prepared. CPD had heard from hundreds of anecdotal sources that applications for Medicaid were being denied by procedural barriers such as clogged websites. So our task was to collaborate with 7 of CPD's affiliates from across the country in order to design and implement a survey that would identify barriers to Medicaid. However, before that, we deep dived into a comprehensive review of the literature, including published research, crowdsourced online information, and think tank analyses. And throughout this process, we identified and sorted common barriers into 4 principal categories. 1, administrative barriers, including cumbersome paper demands, strict deadlines, and difficulty understanding eligibility and application requirements. 2, socioeconomic and language barriers, which are structural societal forces that impact an individual's ability to apply for Medicaid, such as lack of internet access, time demands, language barriers. 3, service barriers, which are difficulties encountered interfacing with the Medicaid system infrastructure itself. And 4, welfare stigma, which is the shame associated with being enrolled in government benefits. It is important to note that the focus of the study was to examine barriers experienced by applicants who were already eligible for Medicaid. So after this, we launched into an iterative survey design process with the affiliates. We decided to use the survey tool Airtable due to its user-friendliness and project management features. And the desk research helped us compile a draft survey that included a data agreement section, demographic questions, and questions on potential challenges. We adjusted the survey questions with the CPD affiliates through our weekly recurring meetings and included their suggestions and feedback. And finally, we piloted the survey before the final survey, which consisted of 17 questions and 1 optional video or audio, as you can see on these slides. We eventually launched the survey from February 16th to the 15th of March, and the affiliates were in charge of data collection. And they primarily relied on 3 tools, including their own organizational networks and listservs, coordinated social media storms, digital phone and text banks, and finally, in-person canvases at popular local businesses. In the end, our survey received responses from 286 participants, which we conducted qualitative and quantitative analysis on. Overall, we found that respondents experienced abundant service barriers, included phone-related challenges like long wait times and unanswered calls, unhelpful phone and office representatives, difficulty navigating websites, and not having access to nearby offices. These barriers combined to create frustrating, burdensome, fatiguing, and discouraging Medicaid application processes for respondents. We're finishing the findings now, and we hope to provide concrete recommendations for CPD to use to advocate for Medicaid administrators. The problems of inequality are great, but we can fix them by making our programs more efficient and equitable. We faced a few challenges, including a small data collection period and the data sampling not necessarily being representative enough, including replicating some inequities such as using English as our language. Nonetheless, we are confident that this is a step in the right direction and will enable CPD to advocate on the federal and state levels for key fixes to the Medicaid application process to advance the human right that healthcare is. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Flynn Walker, and I am the Senior Director of Mobilization and Advocacy at the Center for Popular Democracy. The Center for Popular Democracy is a network of 57 of the most badass community organizations located all across the country, including DC and Puerto Rico. we were fortunate enough to be able to partner with the Columbia University SEPA students on a project to identify the barriers to Medicaid. There are many barriers to Medicaid, which the students were able to identify and then write a report that include things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, like no one answering the phone, the website not working. And thanks to their amazing skills to be able to put together a survey and then draft a comprehensive report that can be broken into sections for each of our 7 statewide affiliates in Arkansas, Alaska, New Hampshire, and many other states, DC, Delaware. They will be able to use those in their ongoing advocacy, and it will make an incredible difference and literally save lives as more people across those states and eventually across the country will be able to get connected to Medicaid. So thank you so much from the Center for Popular Democracy to Columbia SEPA's program for your support for this project, and we're very excited to continue a deep partnership with you in years to come. Thank you.